In a week where there is a lot of eyeballs on any and all Nintendo announcements from their Twitter account, Nintendo of America, I have my eyes on you, but we did not walk away empty-handed so far, and while hype is at an all-time high for the Switch 2 and the possibility of a reveal this week, it might happen this week, it might not, but one thing that is for certain is we have brand new Nintendo Switch Online games to talk about. One of these I am a very big fan of and happy to see hit the service. The other three I could really care less about, but we do have an SNES round of updates this time to discuss, which is the first games update we've had to talk about for this service since August 8th last month. And prior to that, Nintendo was being very consistent with a couple new updates of games each month, and oftentimes being one update for the expansion pack tier and one update for the base tier. We are clearly talking about the base tier of games here. We will get into some speculation on whether or not we might see them update the expansion pack tier this month, but you can first see the following post, which reads: 4 classic SNES titles are now live for Nintendo Switch Online members. Battletoads Double Dragon, that's the big win. Big Run, Cosmo Gang the Puzzle, and a dodgeball game that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. Looks like it was never localized, but Battletoads Double Dragon is definitely the win out of all these games. It's probably what we're going to spend the majority of the time checking out, because I do want to hop into these games, at least Battletoads Double Dragon for sure. Then we'll see whatever we get to of the other ones, but you can kind of get an idea of what the gameplay looks like from the trailer on screen. But as always, I do enjoy booting most of the titles up, at least briefly, just to check it out and share some initial thoughts and impressions, and also have that reoccurring conversation about where we're at with Nintendo Switch Online updates, and if Nintendo can keep the ball rolling with a strong cadence of updates from here throughout the second half of 2024, or if we might see them kind of let off the gas with updates and fall off the latter half of this year. So we'll get on the same page with all of that. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation, and with that, we'll hop right over to some Nintendo Switch Online new games gameplay. So of course, when you are a paying member of a subscription service, and one of the selling points of that subscription service is a ongoing roadmap of games, it's always a nice thing to get an update. We have seen Nintendo do this thing where more and more of their recent additions to the service have been like previously non-localized games. Now, I'm not sure about Cosmo Gang entirely. It looks like, because that says Super Famicom and it has a mixture of Japanese and English in the title, that maybe this one was never localized before. I definitely know this dodgeball one was not, from the looks of things. I mean, even the menu text and things are literally just still in Japanese. So we are getting to that point where Nintendo's pulling over a lot of stuff that was just kind of left over, that was never brought to the US before from back in the day. They could be spending some more money on licensed games, don't get me wrong, but we do of course have Battletoads Double Dragon, which is a big win. We may check out Big Run for just a little bit briefly as well, and in case if you are confused or not familiar, Battletoads Battle Maniacs and Battletoads Double Dragon are two completely different games. So don't think we're getting like that double dip scenario where it's like slightly different. Like this completely plays different, and it's a throwback from '93, Rare LTD. I mean, it's actually going to be a cool game to play through at some point in time. I'm sure I won't do it to completion right now, but this one was definitely the I would say the bigger win out of this entire 4 games update for the SNES era. You know, not to say that I won't ever touch the other games, but I probably won't to any like serious length of time. Now, if you're not familiar with Battletoads games and or Double Dragon games, Battletoads specifically, very much known for the difficulty, probably be dying a lot, get completely beat up, as I just get manhandled by an alien right out of the gate here. Guys, will you please give me a second to figure out controls here, because, you know, Battletoads games for me always had fun kind of like booting it up with a friend, but never really played it to any like serious length of time myself to where I'm just like any kind of level of, you know, master or pro at this game, because you do kind of have to get to that level if you really want to take it serious on Battletoads games. They're beat 'em up style games, but you got to have good timing, you got to have good strategy, you can't just go in guns blazing on everything. And I mentioned the co-op aspect. I actually think that that's how you're going to have the most fun with any Battletoads game, at least in my opinion. Now, I would assume, I'm actually not entirely sure, but I would assume that the online play is fully intact here, so like you should be able to actually do online co-op as well. And man, when these guys connect with their hits, just as hard as I hit them and it throws them off the screen, they do the same thing to me. Like I completely lose all mobility and just get manhandled by him. But super fun nonetheless. I always enjoy a good Battletoads game. And then of course, you know, this is like the franchise crossover with Double Dragon, so if you're a fan of either franchise, you probably need to check this one out. Boot it up for a little bit at least. Enjoy the soundtrack. Something about, you know, early 90s or even just the 90s as a whole, SNES era music is super awesome. For me, it just hits that nostalgia bone, I guess. Maybe nowadays people don't feel the same about it, but for me, absolutely. When you talk about anything from this era, and I really enjoy the soundtrack, just even the background music in this particular level right now, top notch in my personal opinion. Now, talking about NSO updates, where we're going from here. We're in the middle of September. Now, Nintendo was doing something really cool these last few months with updates pretty consistently, all the way until we got to August, where we got that, the last time was the Game Boy Advance update for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Red Team, or whatever it's called. Anyway, that was the last update we had. So I was in this mindset that, well, listen, every single month Nintendo's been doing early in the month a new announcement for either the base tier or the expansion pack tier, and it seemed like they were updating one set of games per month, or one level of the subscription service per month, twice, or what am I trying to say here? Okay, they were updating the base tier and the expansion pack tier once a month. That's what I was trying to say that entire time. It is hard to play and talk. So with that, I was like, yeah, that's what I want to see from Nintendo. I think that kind of upgrade cadence in terms of getting new content is absolutely a fair amount of new content that you should be able to, enjoy and have fun with. We are going to probably continue to die in this game, so I'm just going to hop into a big run while we're talking about this. But I think that's a fair amount of value to add, and we were seeing it like right at the beginning of the month. We'd get a base tier update, then we'd follow it up with an expansion pack tier update. Well, then, surprisingly, Nintendo's really fallen off just this last couple months, where we've gotten only the expansion pack tier update last month, and then now, so far, as far into September as we are, 18 days plus in now, we only have this one update to talk about so far into the month. So I guess this is some kind of character select screen, and I can select each driver or something like that. Let's just see what happens if we press start. We're just kind of got to fly through this. I don't have any level of nostalgia for this game either, but did want to take a brief look at it. The other ones, honestly, not even just from kind of the look of the initial trailer, not really super interesting stuff for me for this SNES update. But Battletoads, a Double Dragon was definitely a big win. But in terms of whether or not we see another NSO update this month, I'm actually less confident in that. I do think that we're back in that unpredictability factor. Seemed like we had a pattern figured out with Nintendo for NSO updates for a minute when we were getting 2 a month, 1 on each tier. Doesn't seem to be something that you can for sure say is happening consistently in 2024 anymore. But I hope it does. I hope towards the end of the month we get an expansion pack tier update, because I mean, if you think about the last time it's been since we've had a Sega Genesis game, that's kind of insane. They really have all but forgotten about that library of games entirely. We still have tons of GBA games they could bring over. Tons of N64 games, talking about your Donkey Kong 64 and Diddy Kong Racing and Smash 64. And, Nintendo, unfortunately, with these subscription services, purposely, by design, drip feeds the content and makes it one of those, they want you to be a subscriber for years and years to come. They don't want to front load all the content you want to play right now. So that's a lot of the downside that we see with these subscription type services. But nonetheless, getting your online play and your cloud saves and everything for the $20 a year on the base tier is not a bad price. You could make a case for the expansion pack tier definitely growing in value a lot over the years, but they do definitely need to continue to consistently update it to make it kind of a no-brainer service like I want it to be for myself and everybody else included. So here's hoping we get some more updates. This is not a bad racing game. It's honestly, I'm sure this is probably just one of the earlier levels, but there's not like a ton of objects that you have to dodge or worry about. So far, it seems like pretty smooth sailing if you want more of a relaxing style racing game. And there's definitely, there's a more aggressive turn coming up here, but so far I've just been laying on the accelerator and haven't had to really worry about, losing control or going off the rails or anything like that too much. So I don't know if we're just going to ultimately run out of time. I guess we should see what the end of this level has to offer first. That clock, it says that clock is now in the red. So anyway, whatever, maybe I'm missing the point of this altogether, who knows, but this does seem to be like a pretty relaxed racing game, and I talk about not losing control and then we almost go off the road here. So You know, these two that we hopped into, not too bad. The other two don't have a whole lot of interest in, but let me know in the comments down below if you have nostalgia for any of these games. Are you going to be playing Battletoads Double Dragon at all on the service? Maybe you're more of a fan of this racing game on the SNES. Are you hopeful that Nintendo starts to dip into the licensed games more in the future? You know, maybe we see the return of like the SNES era Star Wars games and the Mickey Mouse games and, you know, even Goof Troop and stuff like that. Like, do you hope Nintendo starts writing some checks and getting stuff like that on the service? Or do you think they're going to stick to a lot of these more smaller name announcements and then maybe the occasional, you know, big update license game thrown in there? And also, do you think we're going to get another update in September? Or do you think the Switch 2 is happening in September? Because that's what I'm more worried about than NSO updates. But let me know all that's in the comments down below. Make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.